Hello everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how I paint an ocean sunset scene in acrylics. So you're going to need some masking tape, some brushes in a variety of sizes including a blending brush and a fine detail brush. You'll need a pot of water to wash your brushes in, a palette and a canvas, a piece of wood or a sketchbook, something to paint on. These are the colours that I'm going to be using today. Feel free to substitute any of them if you don't have them. I'm using cadmium red, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, titanium white, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, black and primary yellow. I would usually use crimson red and lemon yellow instead, but I actually ran out of them, so I just had to make do with what I had for this tutorial. So as you can see, I'm just blending the first two colours that I'm using for the sky. I haven't recorded all of the colours that I'm blending for this tutorial, but I will walk you through it in this voiceover. So I'm starting by putting the masking tape where I want the horizon to be and painting the sky first, because I do find it a lot easier to paint the horizon from below as opposed to above. I use a fluffy blending brush to smooth out some of the harsh lines. When you're doing this, you don't want to be pressing the colour into the canvas, you want to just be dusting over it really lightly. I'm just layering on some more pink acrylic on top to get rid of some of the streakiness, and I'll pretty much just do this as many times as I see necessary until I'm actually happy with the outcome. For the horizon line, you want to make sure that you use a darker colour for the background and then bring it to a lighter gradient as you get more towards the foreground. This will give you a bit more depth in your painting instead of just painting it all one block colour. I'll just say as well, I know that I've painted it pink here, but towards the end I decided that actually I wanted to paint it more of like a purpley blue, so you might want to do that earlier on, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just letting you know because I do actually change it towards the end. For the outline of the shoreline, I just mixed a tiny bit of cadmium red with a very tiny bit of black, just to mute it a little bit. So here I'm just outlining the shape of the wave. I will go over it and change it until I'm happy with the outcome. The colours that I'm using here are just a bit of titanium white and phthalo turquoise, and I've really watered it down. In this next part, it's important to use a darker colour for the bottom of the inside of the wave and a lighter colour for the top of the inside of the wave. This gives the illusion of translucency at the top, and it gives the bottom a bit more depth. here I'm just putting a darker colour, which is the black mixed with phthalo turquoise, on top of the wave. This is because this bit is further away from us and we want everything that's further away to be slightly darker and everything towards us to have a slightly lighter gradient. And then I've mixed some phthalo turquoise, a very tiny bit of it, a very tiny bit of black, and also some Prussian blue. I've mixed them together and I'm using this to draw the waves in the distance. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that the waves furthest away from you are really tiny, and as they come towards you, they get slightly larger and further apart. I'm then taking some titanium white, and I don't want this to be watered down whatsoever. And then I'm using a blending brush to smooth it out a bit and just to leave it so that it's a faint shine on top of the wave. So here I'm taking the same blue that we used for the waves in the distance, but I've also added a tiny bit of ultramarine blue, and I'm just using it to underline the sea foam that we're about to paint. So you want to add titanium white to the top of the sea foam, and preferably do it when the bottom is still a bit wet so that you can blend them together and create a bit of a gradient and some texture. So here I'm just adding a bit of detail to the wave. I'm using some phthalo turquoise, a really tiny bit of black, and some titanium white. I've blended them together and we're also going to be using that for the next bit as well. So for these sea foam web bits, I don't really know what you would call them, you want them to be darker inside of the wave, and you want them to be slightly lighter at the top of the inside than the bottom of the inside. And then as they come more into the foreground, you want to lighten them up until they're titanium white at the shoreline. For the sand, I've just blended some of the primary yellow with a tiny bit of black and a really tiny little bit of cadmium red, and we're just going to be using this for the sand. You want to make a darker version of this as well, because we're going to be using that for the shadow of the shoreline. We're almost at the end of our painting now, so it's all about adding a bit more spray and some highlights to the top of the wave. So I'm just using titanium white for both of these. When I add sea spray, I always wet my brush slightly, and I use one where the bristles are quite damaged, and then I dip it in the white and then I spray it just using my fingers. And the final touch to any painting is to just sign it with your signature or initials. And there you have it, that's your ocean seascape painting. I hope that you've enjoyed today's tutorial, and I'd love your feedback in the comments. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.